I'm Amanda, and this is the Mums, Bums and Tums podcast, where we talk about mum life and everything else in between. And today we've got Sian with us. So hello, would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Sian, I'm 37 and feel every single moment of it. I'm a mum, I've got a 6-year-old little boy at home, and I'm a makeup artist.
Amazing.
I've got a salon called So Coco Rouge, which I co-own in Liverpool city centre. So
Fabulous.
Yeah, all sorts of makeup-y bits.
Gorgeous. And do you love it?
Yeah, do you know what? It's the best job in the world.
Good.
And it's just, being part of, like, say, someone's wedding day.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Like, you're just like the extra bridesmaid that's there, and you get to be part of the build-up. It's lovely.
And to put that trust in you is amazing.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like, obviously, we've done weddings for about 21 years now.
Wow.
And it's like, you still get those nerves the night before. You still don't sleep, and you're still kind of like panicking. What if I oversleep? What if I forget something? But no, when you leave, every wedding just feels special.
Yeah, I feel like if you're nervous before, it's a good thing. Like, you're trying to be the best version that you can.
Absolutely, no, completely agree.
So that's good. How long have you been a makeup artist for?
So I've done it for 21 years.
That's amazing.
I know, and do you know what I think back? So Robin's my business partner who comes to your classes. And we met at makeup school. We were teenagers. We dressed horrendously. All of our makeup was like glitter and like, it was
big smoky eye.
Face, yeah. And we went to Manchester to train, and we were like the two Scouse girls in the room. But compared to them, they were the two Scousers. And so we started off then, and we were like 19 and 20.
Oh.
And then we finally opened our salon 14 years ago. So
that's incredible.
We're like the old ones of the industry now.
Yeah, but so much. You've got the experience speaks massively. The fact you've got that salon that's still doing successful is a credit to you.
And do you know what? Like, over the years, we've said, we're just probably going to have to hire younger staff because people aren't going to want us and things. And actually, as like we've become mums and we've got a little bit older, the clientele has just aged with us.
Yeah,
and
isn't
it's
it mad?
So lovely. Like, everyone's like, the chat in our salon is kids.
Love it.
It's hormones. Loads of our clients are perimenopausal now.
Yeah.
And like, to be honest, everyone's just talking about like nourishment and strength training, and everyone's actually
loving themselves.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really good.
That's what you want. No wonder it's a lovely place to be.
It is. It's the best.
Good. How many people are in the salon then?
So there's obviously Robin and I who own it. We've got Mia who works for us on a Saturday, and then we've got a team of girls that will come and like whenever we need freelancers to come and help out and stuff.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
what made? Yeah, I do. I need to makeover. What made you want to open your own salon in Liverpool then?
To be honest, it wasn't a decision that we ever thought we would do. So when we went to makeup school, we wanted to just be like commercial makeup artists. Well, to be fair, my dream was to work with Kate Moss. I think that's why I wanted to do makeup anyway.
Yeah.
And I quickly realised that you don't make any money working in like the fashion industry. So we did quite a lot of commercial work, and it was really hard. Like, you just never knew when your next paycheck was coming.
Yeah.
Like Robin was looking at maybe getting a mortgage and things, and it just wasn't the most sustainable career at the time. So we decided, we were on a photo shoot in a church, sat at the back like the naughty schoolgirls, like keeping an eye on the hair and makeup. And we went, do you know what? So Peaches and Cream had opened, right? Yeah. And Peaches were like known for being bold and colourful and everything. And that wasn't us. We were like, I'd be too scared to go in there. I would want just something a bit more natural. I was quite into like my vintage style at the time. I always had a red lip and a flick and all this. And that's, like, I don't even do that now, but that's become my thing. And so we said, well, why don't we open a salon where people like us would want to come?
I love that.
And we had no business plan. We had like no money, not a penny.
Just hoping.
And we just saw this studio and went, oh, we'll just open it. See? And then we gave ourselves until Robin was 30. She's a couple of years older than me. We're like, and if we're not making a career of it by then, we'll just rethink and we'll do something else. And like, she'll kill me for saying it. She's nearly 40. so that's all done.
I love it.
We just keep growing and growing and growing.
And it just makes such a difference of having that business partner like that.
Honestly, like
pushing each other.
There's no way I would do it by myself. No way. And I, to be honest, I wouldn't do it with anyone else either. Like, we've known each other since like word go at makeup school. We're both mums. We've both been through a lot over the past couple of years. And I think if you've not got that person to just kind of like grab the ball.
Yeah.
And go, you can drop it. I've got it.
Yeah. You know it's safe. I'm here. Take your time.
Take your time.
Do what you need.
Exactly.
You do need that.
And I think being self-employed is so difficult.
It's really hard.
And for us, having that person, even just to bounce ideas around with, you know, I could just message in the middle of the night, go, I've just been thinking about this. You know, I don't know whether it is what we should do, but I want to sound it out. And we've got that, like, you know,
and, you know, she'll be honest.
Exactly.
And if it is something that probably isn't your thing, she'll be like, no, look, not for us.
And we've both got our, like, strengths as well, because, like, I'm the controlling one. And, I like things done a certain way. Yeah. She's the creative one. Like, I'm not allowed
to. It works well.
Totally. I'm not allowed to decorate the Christmas tree. I'm not allowed to do the setups for the wedding fairs, but I am in charge of the social media and the invoice. You know, or anything that's a bit boring.
And it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. It's good though, you've got that good balance.
Yeah,
it can be difficult working with other people.
I know, and to be honest, like I think because our friendship's always been built on makeup, we met at makeup school. So there's no like friendship prior to working together.
That helps.
But we've got so many friends who started businesses the same time as we did. And they're not in business together anymore. And even worse, they're just not even friends anymore.
That's sad.
Whereas like, I can't imagine my life without Robin.
That's amazing. She's an amazing person as well. She's fantastic.
And she's like mum of the year. Like,
tell me about it. Put us all to shame. No, joking. She's fantastic.
I know. And she's like, yeah. So my 3. And I'm like,
oh yeah, sorry about that. No, it's good. But you need someone like that. And she just takes it in her stride, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she really does.
It's good. But that's what you want. You need that good support around you, but not just for business, for life as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure now she is a big part of not just your life, but your family's life.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah, like obviously we've been there for each other when we had our children. She's got one that's a little bit older. And, you know, when I had my little one, like when she had her eldest, I didn't even think I wanted kids. I was like, oh, really? Yeah, I don't know. I just
wasn't there.
I was always like eternal single girl, wasn't really that bothered. And then I met my husband and I don't know, you know, when like you meet your person and I was like, I want your babies. Like, this is what I want. And everything.
I want mini yous.
It's like, actually this is,
That, I think you do need, like, you say to people like, oh, don't make the decision. Some people just genuinely don't want it.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, I never wanted to move out my mum's house with anyone. And then I met Josh and I was like, oh, actually, this could be all right.
Yeah. I'd never
now I'd love to move back in with me and get her to do everything for me.
But it just kind of all, I was the same. I was like, I just thought I'd stay at home and you know, do this, that and the other. And then I met him and within so we met within 6 months, not even that, within 4 months lived together. Within 12 months got engaged. But it was all you do. I knew that night. We had that first date and I was like, oh, I'm going to marry you.
How long have you been together now?
So we've been together just over 10 years.
Amazing.
And so we've been married for 7.5. And then we did, as soon as we got married, it was like, right, come off the pill. And I was 30, to be honest, which now, like, I look back and I'm like, the 30 is so young. Like, we met at 27 and I felt like everyone around me was like, married, settled down. And I was like the last one to like, you know, get into a really serious relationship. So like when we were 30, we were like, oh, we need to start trying for a baby.
Yeah.
And we did. And then obviously we got pregnant within about 9 months, which at the time I was like,
the longest.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is like really scary. Just that. But to be honest, when you think back now, like we are taught so little about our bodies.
No, I know.
It's wild, isn't it? It's like
it's bad.
It's like, honestly, so what was I said?
I think I learn something every time I speak to another mum.
I do. But at the time, I was like, oh, it's taken forever. We're trying for this baby. If I look back now, I knew nothing about like how my cycle works or like when you are
You're not taught it in school.
No, it's insane. It's so wild.
And then if you want to learn about it, you have to pay for apps.
Yeah.
Because I think it was the Flow app. I had the free version.
Yeah,
and we were trying for Nyla. And it was like, oh, if you upgrade, you could do this. And I thought, why do I need to?
And even that, that just works on an algorithm. It's not actually personalised to you. So you still kind of stabbing in the dark.
Literally, hoping for the best. Praying for a good outcome. Yeah. No, we did like a lot of ovulation tests and stuff to try and work it out. But then it gets a bit, I got too like zoned in on it and obsessed. Yeah. Stressy.
You do, and it just ruins the whole thing. Yeah. It's not supposed to be like that.
No. And then I think of all these people who just accidentally get pregnant and I think, oh, that's so lucky.
I know. I was like, how?
How did you do that? So there must be very, very fertile.
I know what you even think about in school. They're like, oh, don't even look at a boy because you'll get pregnant. Doesn't matter what day of the month it is, you will get pregnant. It's like actually, and then you get to a certain age, you're like,
really hard.
Like 4 days.
On a good month.
Exactly. So,
it's madness.
So we did. So we got pregnant, and as I said, we've got like a 6-year-old little boy now, and it was probably the happiest time. I loved being pregnant, considering I didn't think I wanted it and stuff.
That's good. How was birth then? Was it?
Yeah. So good. I mean, it was really weird, to be honest. So when we got pregnant and everything, I don't think my husband expected when we went to the first midwife appointment, and they were like, oh, where do you want to give birth? And I was like, in my living room. And we've got this, we had this flat at the time that overlooked the Mersey.
Oh, gorgeous.
Like, it was beautiful. And I was like, I've just got this vision. I'm going to be in a birthing pool in like the window. And I'm just going to be watching the boats go by. And
watching the Senna.
He sat there going, what? Like, literally
shock.
Before you walked in, you were like, I just think I want maybe a C-section, or I want to be knocked out. I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. Sit down. I want a water birth. And I want this. And I'm going to hypnobirth it. And I'm going to breathe my baby out. And it's going to be magical. So he was like, okay, this was not the plan. And then, it's because I think the pregnancy was naively so plain sailing.
Yeah.
The birth was, my husband will tell you it was traumatic. I don't personally think it was traumatic.
Yeah.
But then I'm not the person watching it happen to someone you love.
I think it is traumatic to see. I wouldn't want to see it.
No, same. And I think it went really well. My little boy was humongous when he was born.
What was he?
9'9". No, 9'10".
Oh my God.
9'10". But I was like, I didn't have the biggest bump, so nobody thought he was going to be that big.
I don't understand that. How there's a big baby and a small bump.
I was constantly going for like growth scans because they were like, oh, your bump's just not that big. And then they'd be like, oh no, you were literally just
wrong.
all child.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I was able to, I did all my hypnobirthing. I just had a little bit of gas and air.
Amazing.
And then, and it was all very plain sailing.
Good.
Plain sailing, yeah.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
There's so many horror stories now.
I know. And to be honest, like I was always like quite I'd say toxic positive person. You know, if somebody had like, oh, I had a bad experience, I'd be like, oh yeah, but I don't need to hear that because I only want to think positive.
Yeah.
And I was probably like, as I said, I only had gas and air because I was like, I can't have an epidural. I don't want to do that to myself. Now, if I get the opportunity to like, have another baby and bring a baby home and stuff, I think I'd be like, just
give me it all.
Yeah.
I was like, my sister had a baby 10 months before me, and she had like a really long labour. And she was in, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 days, but she had whatever they give you first.
Yeah.
That one. And then it didn't work. And she was like, couldn't have it so just bring your mic a little bit closer for me. She was like, you can't have anything else for 4 hours. It made her dad sleepy.
Yeah.
So she was like, so go straight
to
for the second one. So when I went into labour, I was like, I want that one. Diamorphine. So whatever the first one was.
Yeah.
The second one's diamorphine. I said, I want diamorphine. And they were like, yeah, but we'd usually suggest that you have this one. I said, I know. I want that one. And she was like, okay, we just need to check. And I was like, I'm not taking that other one. And it's a good job because within 4 hours she was there.
Really?
So it wouldn't have like...
Yeah, it wouldn't
have had time for the next one. So, but I was very adamant I didn't want an epidural.
Were you?
Yeah, because it just scared me. I'd heard horror stories.
Same.
So I was like, don't want, but if you need it, you need it.
Yeah, and I've just spoken to people and they've said, oh, I just like sat there for a bit, or I had a sleep, or my contractions were happening. I'm like, you had a sleep?
But you don't know they're happening, do you? Yeah. My cousin's girlfriend, when she had an epidural, it only worked one side. So, but she said it was kind of good because she knew when to push. Yeah. Because she could feel it.
Feel something.
Yeah. But that
that scares me.
After really worries me.
To be honest, just the thought of like a needle going into my back.
And you've got to sit dead still.
Yeah, no. So as much as I'm like...
give blood.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So I pray that the next one will be as good, but it definitely won't be.
Yeah, you don't get the same experience twice.
No, my mum had a really lovely one with my older sister Emma, and then when she had Sarah, it was like complete polar opposite.
Really?
Horrendous. And I'm really surprised she had me. After
What's
how bad
the gap
it sounds.
between all three of you?
3 years. Exactly.
So like equal?
Yeah. So Emma's just turned 37 and there's 3 years between us all. Yeah.
That's nice.
But my dad like explained it, like he thought he was going to lose my mum. She lost that much blood. Whether he actually was that traumatic.
Yeah. Whether that's just what they see.
Yeah, but obviously if you see the person you love losing that much blood.
Honestly, like I do think people don't give partners enough credit.
And they
really
are
don't.
pushed aside and I get why. But I remember when I was in labour, and Josh left the room at one point. He said, I couldn't cope.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And he went, no, I couldn't cope that you didn't want my help. Because I was like to him, don't touch me.
Yeah,
it was
just
so
leave me
hot.
alone. Yeah.
All he could do was get me a cold flannel and keep topping it up.
But I think it's hard, isn't it? Because like, say hypnobirth and stuff, they're like, oh, you know, they might want like the hair stroked, or you can do this thing with a comb. Yeah, I'm like, don't touch me.
He tried at one point, rubbing my back.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
And it was mid heat wave as well when we had her, because she's July.
Okay.
And I was literally sweating. I thought, I'm going to kill my hair before I go in. And it's going to be gorgeous. And my hair had matted with sweat and rubbing it against the bed. And my first picture, I was like,
oh, don't.
I look so big.
So Ace was born in October, but it was the hottest October day on record, like ever.
Oh,
it was so hot.
Sod's law.
But I'd gone into labour at home, and I was meant to be going to, the birth centre in Seacombe that they've got, so I was supposed to be going there. That all kind of went a bit wrong. So nothing to do with them. It was I needed to go to hospital. And but when we got to hospital, because it was so bright, it's so embarrassing, I was like the biggest diva. I was like, close the curtains. It's too bright. I need my like fairy lights. You could just see them be like, oh, here we go.
Here's another one.
Here we go, yeah. And I think the heat of that day, just because he wasn't born until 10 to 1 in the afternoon, it was a lot, yeah. But I'd done my hair. I did like 2 big Dutch braids around my head because I thought, like, get it out, because it was really long at the time. I had some makeup on. None of those pictures.
Yeah,
it is
same.
just
Mine's just all sweated off.
Same, yeah.
I'm in a fever.
Flat hair.
I'm just like,
it's not the one, is it?
no, but it's a memory. It's probably not one I'll post.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just in your photo album.
Want to stay there, yeah. But you have got that pressure though of looking good, haven't you?
Definitely.
And you don't need to.
No, and I think, to be honest, I'd say I've noticed that like in motherhood anyway. When he was first born, I look back at pictures and I've like, I'm like trying to feed him, and then I've got my makeup on the bed. Don't know where I was going. I've got like double wear foundation, and I was like, and because
what
obviously
was I thinking?
I know, and like I would be like, oh, I need to get my brows done, so at least I don't have to do that. I need to get my lashes done. And I always used to wear a red lip, so I was like constantly putting my red lipstick on. It's not.
It makes you feel better then.
Totally, yeah, and it probably did at the time.
Yeah.
But now, and I think it's mainly like since lockdown and stuff, I just don't wear as much makeup as I used to. And I've got so used to like actually feeling a bit better in myself that I don't need.
You've got that confidence from within instead. That's good.
I get to catfish now on the school run, because if like it's a day that I'm off, I'm just cleaning the house, nobody recognises me. And then I go to work and I'm like, oh,
hello.
Are you going somewhere nice today? And I'm like, no, I'm just not a toe today.
Yeah. No, I just made an effort today.
Yeah.
I know it's hard though, because you don't have the time, especially when they are young.
Yeah.
But that's the time that you feel like you need it the most.
Absolutely. And, obviously he's 6 now. It does definitely get easier, and you get a bit more time. And I feel like I probably have said this about every single age. 6 is my favourite. We've only been in it for 2 months, but it feels like the sweet spot. Like he's a bit more independent. I've got a bit more time for me. And like they say that with the flamingo, you get your pink back.
Yeah, you got your pink back.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken 6 years.
Yeah.
But
we're there.
Yeah. It's just like, there's some, a positive thing
there's
for
light
the
at the end of the tunnel.
It takes a while, but you get there.
Yeah. No, it's hard. And so he's in school then?
Yeah.
How's
So
he
he's in school. He loves school, We're really lucky. He has had, to be honest, before we started school, I was a bit like, I don't know, I couldn't have homeschooled him. But I kind of was like, I feel like they're so young, and in Scandinavia they don't go to school until they're 7, and I was so like, maybe I shouldn't put him into school, and actually it's like been the best.
It brings him out
things.
So much.
He adores it. His teachers are amazing. He's got a lovely set of friends.
Good.
So
it can make or break them massively.
Definitely.
I do agree that some kids aren't ready. And Nyla's a July baby as well, so she is one of the youngest.
Yeah,
she
so we're
thrives in there.
oldest. Yeah.
So I'm lucky.
Jump, when you think like there's. So obviously some of his friends are like the last day in August.
It's mad that.
That's a whole, like some of these babies weren't even conceived when the other ones were like 3 months old. What is that about? And they're lumped together into one school year.
It's a lot, isn't
and all, they expect them to all reach milestones at the same time. Well, they're not going to.
No. Well, it's like if you look at babies when they're born, if you look at like a 2-month-old to a 6-month-old.
Exactly. It's huge.
Somebody showed me a picture the other day of their baby next to like someone who's a couple of months older.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I didn't realise the difference until they put them together. Because when you're in the depth of it, you don't really think about it. But when you look,
but then they go into school and it's just all like, this is the year group you're in. Doesn't matter what age you are.
Yeah. I know. I do worry about that sometimes with Nyla because she is the baby, but she's really bright. We are lucky.
Yeah.
So.
And to be honest, because I've spoken to friends who, their children are really young in the year and they were worried. And actually, as long as they've got a school system that supports that and understands that, and you understand that, yeah, maybe then their reading isn't going to be as good as the person that's born on September 2nd. Yeah. That's fine, because everyone gets there in their own time, don't they?
And also, so she's got a cousin who's September, so they're in the same year. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
so
she's
nice.
amazing at writing. And Nala, like, will not entertain it. And I was like, when we went in for a nursery, like, parents evening, and they were like, is there anything you want us to work? And I said, writing. She went, we don't need to focus on writing. She's just turned 3.
Yeah.
She was like, it'll come. She said, we can practice, like, tasks where it'll promote if I'm motor skills. And she was like, don't fixate on it. She just does, but she doesn't really like anything. Like, she's just getting into it now, but colouring, writing, painting, she's not.
To be honest,
be physical.
Yeah, well, that's what he used to be like. And I would say, like, we were worried, he wouldn't hold a pen properly.
Yeah.
He can't do this. And if I was like, should we do this? Yeah. And then all of a sudden,
just clicked.
It clicked. And he wanted to do it. And now that's all he does. He writes stories. The amount of paper, it's like stack and stack and stack and stack, and he's like,
got to keep them all.
I know, and he's like, he writes these stories and they're very boyish and very silly. But it's great because now I would never have thought that to, when he was 3, I'd be like, he's not going to sit and write. That's all he does is write.
But I feel like whatever stage you're in with them, you think that, because I always thought she's never going to walk.
Yeah, oh God.
She was like, after 1, she walked and all of her friends could walk, and I thought, oh no, she's never going to walk.
So we were quite tricky with that. So when Ace was 6, when he was born, his they do the newborn hip check.
Yeah.
So he had a hip click straight away. And that's obviously what they're checking for. And I was quite blasé about it because I had a clicky hip when I was younger. Yeah. And so when, we used to do dancing and stuff, we talked about before, if I did a kick, I could feel my like hip pop out and then it would pop back in. And I was like, that's just
that's just
totally normal. It's like, I was like, oh yeah, my mum said I had this like clicky hip thing when I was a baby and I had to wear, they call it like double nappies. It's basically just 2 nappies, right?
Oh really?
Yeah. And it would hold the hip in place. So, mine's fine. So he had this, the newborn hip check. And they said, oh no, he's got a clicky hip as well. He'll need a scan at 6 weeks. So for me, for 6 weeks, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to be the same as me, We go for this scan and his was like, I mean, they don't know because I had never been scanned as a baby because, it was the 80s.
Yeah, it was different.
And they were like, oh no, actually it's quite bad. So he's got hip dysplasia.
Oh my God.
So do you know what that is?
No.
So basically, so how you've got like your ball and socket joints, right? So they need to touch for the bone to actually form. So obviously when you're a baby, your bones are really soft. So it's got to have the connection there. So say if that's like the socket, the ball was like here.
Oh my God.
So it wasn't in. And what happens is like, obviously loads of their motor skills will be, the gross motor skills will be delayed, such as walking and crawling and things like that. But in like adulthood, if it's not picked up and treated, it can lead to really like severe chronic hip pain. Loads of adults end up having like hip replacements in their 30s and stuff. So we were really worried about walking and we never thought that he walked, was about 14 months.
Okay,
which,
normal,
average,
yeah.
Because he was in a harness from, when did he go into it? He was checked at 6 weeks, and it was, quite bad. He had to wear double nappies for 6 weeks because he just wanted to see how well it did. And then he went into the harness for 12 weeks. And thankfully it worked. Yeah, because if that hadn't worked, it goes on to surgery and they have to be like in a full cast and everything like that. So that was really difficult. And to be honest, that really like hindered my like motherhood journey. Because it was, so the harness kind of holds him in like a frog-like position.
Yeah.
So, like frog. So what it does is it basically holds the ball into the socket so it can make contact. So you had to always keep him in this position. He had to wear specialist clothing. And I was really lucky. Like 3 weeks before, Marks and Spencer's had launched like an adaptive clothing. Because before that, honestly, and I just found it on like a midnight Google search, ordered everything. And I ordered everything like a couple of days before this appointment. Because when you think, if I'm prepared, I won't need it and it'll be fine. I needed
Watch
it.
this space.
I needed it. But at the hospital, because it's more common in girls as well. So they're always like, oh, it's fine because they can wear dresses and you can wear tights, but cut them so they're just like a leg each. I was like, but in boys, and it was winter, there wasn't really that many options. So the hospital staff couldn't believe it when I rocked up with this massive Marks and Spencer's bag of like all the different designs. So I was really lucky, really, but it hindered my confidence because if you were like in a coffee shop and I got him out of his pram, you'd see eyes be like,
Oh, yeah.
what's happened to that baby? Like,
They think you've done
yeah,
something.
he
That's
looked like he had broken
the initial
legs.
worry, yeah.
Yeah, and then like, you know, if I'd walk around with him and he's so sturdy and he did, and it was quite horrible to be honest, but I did NCT, you know, which the class itself is pretty rubbish, but the friends you get out of it are amazing.
Yeah.
And the only way I felt confident going to say like baby groups, or we went to like an exercise class and stuff before you'd started, was because I went with them. So like I didn't feel, I didn't feel like if anyone was going to look and say something, I mean, two of them would have been like,
don't.
No, you leave her alone. But it was so lonely. And
can make a difference.
Oh, it was, and you just need those little like cheerleaders with you,
your back up.
Yeah, exactly. But like nobody obviously was really talking about it. I did, considering I had it and I didn't know anything about it. My mum was learning because again,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it just wasn't.
And in such a short amount of time, really, 30 years, the medicine has come along.
So much. And so I just decided, because there wasn't anybody, I couldn't find anything online. There was like, I kept saying to the hospital, like, oh, have you got like, not like a support group, but, you know, I don't know, a little group at the hospital where, you know, like a coffee morning for mums. Because there was obviously quite a few of us there was a hip clinic every week at the hospital.
Oh my God.
And they were like, oh no, there's nothing. So I ended up, I'd always run a beauty blog. I've always written and I've always, but you know, it's always been more work related, fashion and beauty. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to write about this. So I started to write about my experience, but it had a lot of like, this is what's working for us, or we've tried this, because, you know, nobody helps you, but, you know, we were trying to breastfeed at the time. And it was like, you need to change your feeding positions your baby can't, there's loads of stuff you can't do. It's hard to wind them, but you need to still do tummy time.
It's
and
hard
you need
enough
to be,
as it is without that extra.
Exactly. And so I decided to just start this blog up. And it created like a really lovely community.
Gorgeous.
And some of the parents that I chatted to then whose babies were going through it, like I still chat to now. Like I spoke to one of them last night on Instagram. I've never met them in person.
Yeah.
They're just all over the country. But it was like people going, oh yeah, do you know what? That's me too. And at the time, like I was devastated and I knew that there was much bigger things happening to other people. But when it's not what you expected. Same with like
but
reflux
that's a big thing
and stuff
for you at that time.
Exactly. You know, it's like if it's not how we all imagine your motherhood journey to be,
how you're sold.
Yeah, your colic or your reflux or hip dysplasia or anything like postnatal depression, anything that's outside of what you are sold is going to be your motherhood journey is really difficult. And I think every message, because I still get loads now, is like people are like, I'm finding this really difficult and you're almost grieving, and it sounds ridiculous, like the clothes you bought.
No,
they can't wear them.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, they can't go to certain activities. Like we struggled at baby massage, that, you know, just we couldn't go swimming. Yeah. All those things.
All the things you want to do and you imagine yourself doing before they're there. And you're not even warned about it, because I've never even heard of it.
Exactly.
Until you said.
Yeah.
So, and it's just mental.
It's mad. And do you know what? I'm glad that my ramblings in the middle of the night, that I just was like, right, throw it out into the ether and just see who catches it. You know, there's going to be somebody. Like now, so obviously that's 6 years ago, it's still, I get about 14,000 people reading it every single year.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge.
That's incredible.
And it's like, because there's nothing out there. Like nobody.
Yeah, it's such a niche.
So niche. And it's just me rambling.
So that's how many people you're helping every year. And that's incredible in itself.
And do you know what? When I just get messages going, I just want to say, I've read that and thank you, because you're the only person that I've read has kind of got how sad I am. But everyone on the outside is going, why is she so upset about this? Like it doesn't, if the treatment works, the child's life is not going to be affected.
Yeah, but yours
is. Time, and
yours
your mental health and stuff. And there's no mental health support for it.
There's there's not much mental health support in general.
Not at all.
Is there?
Do you know what? He's got a little scar on the back of his leg where his harness was. And he knows about it. He knows about his harness. He's seen pictures of it. And I love little things like scars and stuff. Anyway, it's so individual.
It's a story.
Yeah. So I'm always like, well, remember, like you had your poorly hips, and some babies have poorly hips. It's like, and I kind of like that he could, you know, meet somebody and he could just be like, oh yeah, I know about hip dysplasia. Like, I had it. Or, you know, it just
makes them feel
breaks
a bit
down a barrier.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
It's good though. And it's so good that you're open and honest with him and talk about stuff like that.
Yeah. To be honest, like considering he's 6, he knows loads. So obviously we're really tried hard to get a sibling and we've not been able to. And he knows everything. So so I've had 2 miscarriages and I had a termination for medical reasons last year.
Yeah.
So he's got a little brother who was born sleeping and he knows everything. Like he is fully aware that some babies are really poorly when they're like in their mummy's tummy. And some babies, are born sleeping. He knows that. So with our miscarriages, he's like, oh yeah, the tiny baby grew to a certain size and then stopped. And it's like, so I think being so open with him,
it's a good thing.
yeah. And like,
he's not thick either, so he's going to be onto you.
Exactly, yeah. And he's just, we talk about it all the time. He's like, oh, mummy, if you were to get another baby in your tummy, what do you think would happen? He's like, and he's like,
he's curious.
He's really curious, and he looks at, like, we've got scan photos, because my 2 miscarriages were missed miscarriages. So you don't find out until like the scan.
Oh, no.
So we've always been like, oh, well, we had an early scan at like 6 weeks or 7 weeks or 8 weeks. And this is what the baby looked like, when their heart was beating. But then obviously by 12 weeks, the baby had gone.
Yeah.
And he's curious about it, but in the way that kids can be, because they don't have the emotional attachment to it.
Plus, he's curious because he wants to know.
Yeah.
For the sole fact he needs to know the fact.
Yeah, exactly.
And no other reason, not to be nosy.
Yeah.
He just wants to know what's happening with his mummy.
Exactly.
And if he can help, basically.
And it's really good because I think now, like, if we were lucky enough to get pregnant again, I'd probably like, guess what? This stick says that I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
None of us know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
But you're kind of on the journey with us, like, from day one. Because when I was pregnant, we actually didn't tell him about the losses until quite a bit after. So he's never been like in it.
Yeah.
He's just found out a bit later.
But then you've also got to kind of hide it as well a bit from him, which is double as hard.
So it was hard, to be honest. So where are we now? So 2022 is when I had my first miscarriage. And it was really weird. I'm quite spiritual.
Yeah.
And I do think like children have got a weird like link to another world.
Yeah.
But we had our scan. We'd found out the baby had passed away. And I was carrying him down the stairs. So he was only, 3 at this point. And he went, oh, mummy, look at you. You're so strong carrying your 2 babies.
Oh, that's just give me chills.
And then we went to the park. We went to Earlston Library, right? We're sat in like the park outside Earlston Library. And he picks up a daisy. And he's like, mummy, the baby's asked me to give you this.
Oh.
And then we went into the library and he got a book and he went, let's read a goodbye story to the baby, mummy, and say goodbye.
Oh.
So weird. And he had no idea that I was pregnant. And but it's weird because now like daisies is like our thing. For it's like, oh, so that baby was like Daisy. No idea, but we call it Daisy.
Good. Maybe it was.
Yeah, and that was like his link. And then we fell pregnant again the following year. We fell pregnant in March 2023, and we didn't tell him. And my due date was Christmas Day, and we were like, oh. Like, I remember when the sonographer, she was like scanning me. She was like, oh, that's 25th of December. And then she went, oh, Christmas Day. I was like, yeah. I'm either going to make my 5-year-old's year or completely destroy it. It's like, we'll see how this goes down. So we hadn't told him. And obviously we got to 12 weeks. So I remember we were having work done in the garden. And I said to my husband, at least we know we're definitely bringing a baby home this time. Because we'd got past 12 weeks and it was like...
That's what you told?
Absolutely.
You sold that as well?
Sold that. And, and I'd had the whole like pregnancy after loss. And it was just the first 12 weeks that I was worried about. I wasn't really worried about anything past that. Yeah. So we decided we wouldn't tell him until we knew the baby's gender, because we thought he'd think he could pick.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, right. So he's going to think I want this. So then we won't tell him until we find out the baby's gender. So we went for our scan, dropped him off at my mum's. Me and my husband went off and we were talking the whole way there about a bloody balloon. We're like, what colour balloon should we get? Because I love this. He hates how like gender is like a colour, right? We're like, oh, maybe we should just get like a purple balloon, because purple was his favourite colour at the time. We're like, oh, that's like a mixture of pink and blue. And then we'll just have like baby brother or baby sister written on the balloon. The whole conversation was about this balloon.
Oh.
And it's weird, to be honest, because when we were pregnant with him, we were so scared about the 20-week scan. Like, I've got friends that haven't had the greatest experience of the 20-week scan. And I was terrified. I was like, oh, you know, I know what they've been through. I selfishly don't want to go through that as well. So I was so terrified when it was him. But then because he'd been fine and we'd got past 12 weeks, I really didn't.
It's naivety, isn't it?
Totally.
You don't know.
I don't know. And the strange thing is, about 2 weeks before, I mean, I don't know when you're supposed to start feeling movements, but I had like massive kicks at say like 18 weeks, 17, 18 weeks. And so much so that I was like, oh, it's definitely a boy, because I can just, you know, when you're like, oh, this is a boy, this is going to be another one that's going to, you know, run rings around me, be dead energetic. So, but then the kicks kind of like eased off, not enough for me to be like, I'm worrying about it. And every single mum that spoke to, whether it's a friend or a client, everyone was like, oh yeah, but you're only like 19 weeks. Like, don't worry about it. Everything that you got, you know, Googled like counting kicks, and it'd be like, don't worry about until like week 27 because your placenta moves. There was so much of it was like, don't worry.
Passing it off, basically.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, it'll be fine. So it didn't bother anyone. And then we obviously were waiting in the waiting room again, just talking about gender stuff. Sat down on the bed, started scanning, and she was like, oh yeah, we've got a heartbeat. And then it was just complete silence. And she said, have you felt this baby move much? And I said, well, yeah, but funny you say that. Like, I've noticed that they were moving loads, and then the movements just don't seem to be as frequent or as, you know, as noticeable. And she just said, you've got a really, really, really sick baby. I'm not, her words were, I'm not seeing what I need to see. And your baby is just lying there. They're alive, but they're just lying there. A baby at 20 weeks should be bouncing around and, you know, arms up, and they're just not. And so I need to get somebody to come in. So obviously we went through quite a lot of different things.
I can imagine.
And he had a condition called fetal high drops, which is basically where the baby's lymphatic system doesn't work properly. In some cases, like, they can do things. Yeah. They can do things. So like, obviously medicine now is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But also with that comes like the sonographer equipment's amazing as well. We can pick up so much more stuff in utero.
Thankfully, it's getting better.
It's getting better. But because it's getting better, it also means that cases like mine are more common than they ever have been, really. So we went through all of that and basically found out that he had an extra chromosome, which was why his lymphatic system wasn't working. And so we ended up having to make the decision to basically let him go.
That's a really hard decision as well.
It was, and it was one. It sounds awful, but when you go into a scan, all you want to hear is, oh, there's the heartbeat, there's the heartbeat. And we got to a point, because we were scanned every couple of days. I was really poorly as well. It was making me quite poorly. Yeah. We'd go in and go, oh, I hope he's gone.
It just takes that decision away from you.
That we're not playing
because
God.
That's a decision you should never have to make as a mum and dad.
Absolutely. Ever. Absolutely. And it was like, I hope he's gone, I hope he's gone. And then we'd get in there and he hadn't. But then my husband was like, do you know what, at the end of the day, if we're the ones that have to make the decision, we're with him in mind and in spirit and everything.
You put
when
both
he does.
Interests at heart. Best interests at heart as well.
So we did. So we had to make the really difficult decision at 23 and a half weeks. And to be honest, we could have gone further. They told us they thought he would survive until 30 weeks. If I went into early labour, he wouldn't survive birth. And if he did, he'd have to go to Clare House to go into palliative care, because he wouldn't survive more than 48 hours. Yeah. So we got to the point where it's like, it's making me really sick. Ace was just about to start school. I mean, his brother was born 7 days before he started primary school. My God. So we got to a point where it's like, the closer we're getting to him starting school, the more this is going to really start to affect his life. Yeah. And and
probably you more as well.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm talking to you now and I tell you 28 out of those 30 school mums have got absolutely no idea that when I walked into school that day, I was a completely grieving mother in a postpartum body who'd given birth 7 days prior.
Yeah.
You know, nobody had any idea. So he was born sleeping at 23 weeks and 5 days.
Oh.
And I think what people don't realise is obviously that was still second trimester. And I had no idea when we walked into it, nothing is that different when you're having a full-term baby. Like, I was induced, and my labour experience was, if anything, more painful than it was with Ace. Yeah. And, you know, your body has still given birth.
You've still got to go through it without that happy
absolutely. And like, you know, your milk comes in, you still get
really?
Yeah, so and it can come in from like 14 weeks. It's like a miscarriage into the second trimester. They will give, if you want it, they will give you medication to stop your milk coming in.
Yeah.
Or some amazing people don't have the medication and pump and then donate their breast milk in memory of their baby.
Oh,
This
that's
honestly,
There's some incredible people, isn't there?
absolutely. I'd had the worst breastfeeding journey with Ace anyway, so I didn't think it was the best. So I took the medication, but I still had postpartum hair loss.
Oh my God.
My core was completely gone. My pelvic floor, like everything physically was affected like it had done the first time. And I had no idea that that's what was going to happen. And like, to be honest, it was when we had that 20-week scan, and they use a horrible phrase, which is compatible with life. Mm-hmm. And they say to you whether your baby is or is not compatible with life. And they went, just so you know, you will still have to give birth to this baby. Like, that is what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And until then, I was like, how has nobody told me this? And I know why. And I know why we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I understand why we don't talk about it. But we need
to.
We need to.
It's a touchy subject because we're allowing it to carry on being a touchy subject.
Yeah.
And it's really important. That's what I think so amazing about you. You're an incredible person.
Thank you.
To be so open and honest about such a raw time of your life.
Yeah.
That is probably still a big wound for you.
Yeah.
And probably will be for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And it's difficult because I think we're getting better about talking about miscarriage.
Yeah.
I do. I think and I mean, the numbers of us who have experienced miscarriage.
My eyes have only been open to that in the past couple of years.
Yeah. Same. When I fell pregnant with Ace, so 2018, I was so nice. I was
unheard of.
So yeah, it'd be fine. Like, I had the most easy breezy pregnancy. Yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Didn't know, as far as I was aware, I didn't know anyone that had a miscarriage. Obviously, coming to have my second pregnancy, myself and my friend miscarried at a really similar time. And that was like my one friend that I was like, I can't believe we've both been through this at such a similar time. We've both had pregnancies before, that things have been fine. Like, how are we both here? And then since then, clients, and this is the thing I love about the salon, I was really open on social media. Like, as soon as we lost my little boy, obviously people knew I was pregnant. I was very obviously pregnant with my little boy.
It's hard.
The little boy I lost. So I'm really open in work, and people now sit in my chair and go, oh, actually, I'm having a lot of infertility problems, or I'm having IVF, or I've had miscarriage. And people wouldn't have talked about it before, but now that's like, okay, this girl gets it.
And sometimes they need someone like you that they think, oh, she's been through something similar, and I can just... Sometimes you can't talk to your family about them same things. Your partner will never get it. Nothing they can do about it, but they'll never get it. And you might just be that little beacon of hope for some people.
I hope so. And I do think, like, as much like my friends and family were amazing, like every single one of them, I've never felt so loved and supported. And we had a funeral for my little boy, and it was all just, we kept saying it's like all of his aunties were there, you know, all the people that would love him. Absolutely, exactly. Like,
do love him.
Yeah, and they loved him in life and loved him in death, and that they were all incredible, but nobody had been through it.
No, and it's different.
And it is different, and I'm quite lucky in that, just like the hip dysplasia stuff, if you've got the strength to kind of put your head above the water and be like, this has happened to me, the amount of people that come in. And do you know, one of my brides from a couple of years ago, it happened, she lost her little boy in very, very similar circumstances a couple of months prior, and she messaged me and was like, I hope you don't mind me messaging. I think we've been, because I actually wasn't very open about what exactly had happened to start with. I think we might have been through the same thing. And she was just a lifeline of somebody that was like, it's like, I know what it's like to give birth and hear silence.
Oh.
I know what it's like to, everyone talks about your oxytocin that you need to get you through. And I am telling you now, it does.
Yeah.
Because I could not believe the difference in my pain threshold with my second labour compared to my first. It was completely different. I had loads of morphine that time.
Good.
I was like, give me
everything.
I started off like, I don't need anything. I was like, give me the morphine. And then I've got some, unfortunately, a girl who I used to teach, and she was one of my students, and we'd weirdly always had a bond. Like there's somebody in your life that there's something. And this is going back like 10, 11 years, longer now. And a similar she lost her little boy in a similar circumstance. And we just, again, she got in touch with me and she was like, I had a feeling we were going to need each other. There's something was going to bring us together. And we did. And we're still really close. She's been a massive part of my journey. And then there's been somebody this year who lives locally. I met through a Facebook group.
It's mad, isn't it?
And it's those people that, this girl in particular, we went for a walk and we've both had miscarriages. And don't get me wrong, miscarriages horrendous. Like my miscarriages, at my first one, I was like, I can't, this is so painful. And then when I lost my son, no pain can never even come close to the physical pain of giving birth to the baby I've not got to bring home. And she was the same. And she said, that's exactly how I feel. But nobody gets it.
No, they won't.
They don't get it.
Because you don't want anybody to, though, as well, in a type of way. But it's hard because you just need that somebody who can just say, I know what you're going through.
Yeah. I think especially as like, and I do it a little bit in that, like technically, so obviously I had to have a termination for medical reasons, which they call like a TMFR as well, as like the shortening for it. But he was then stillborn, right?
Yeah.
So I would always say, I've got a little boy who's 6, and then unfortunately my little boy was stillborn last year.
Yeah.
But as soon as you say stillborn, people go, oh, full term. Like, oh, was he? And the amount of times my mum has been asked this question as well, as like, was she full term? And mum's like, oh no, it was literally just before 24 weeks. And the reason we say just before 24 weeks is because that's when people say they're viable. Yeah. If you're right. And things change financially. You can get financial help if they're 24 weeks, 23 weeks and 5 days, you get nothing.
You're joking.
Yeah.
That's horrendous.
Yes, you don't get any maternity leave. You don't, nothing. So even, obviously I'm self-employed, but we would have been able to apply for maternity. Yeah. We can't do anything.
Oh my God.
It's awful, isn't it? But when I say like, oh no, he was just before 24 weeks, I always say only. Oh, he was only just before 24 weeks.
He wasn't only.
But you see everyone go, oh, right. But, that's okay because it wasn't full term. At least it wasn't full term. Or people go,
it might as well have been.
Exactly. And I'm sure there'll be people that are listening to this that have been in a similar situation that will go, I wish he was, because that's more time I would have spent with him. Yeah. And I wouldn't have almost the judgment of people thinking, oh, it's only, God, she makes a bit of a song and dance.
But even if you didn't have to give birth to him and you had a miscarriage, it's still a miscarriage.
Absolutely.
You still love that baby from the moment you weed on that stick. You know about them.
And also, like, it's not just the baby. Like, even, if you found out you were pregnant and miscarried 2 days later, in those 48 hours, you have thought about your baby. You've thought about the nursery, the name that they're going to be. Exactly like, oh, they're going to be born on this date. Yeah. So they're going to be in this school year. That whole child's life is mapped out in those whatever hours you've got. Exactly. A loss is a loss. It doesn't matter.
No.
Like, grief is grief. And like, obviously the grief I experienced with my son was unlike, like, I've lost my dad. I've lost loads of people very, very close to me, close friends.
Yeah.
Nothing compares.
Ever compare. No. Because as well, you're the only one that's really had that time with that baby.
Yeah.
Because he was in you.
Exactly.
And you never, unfortunately, got any time with him.
No.
Which is really hard.
It is. And but talking about like time with them and stuff, there's a place in Arrow Park Hospital called the Butterfly Suite.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah. And in the women's, there's the honeysuckle suite as well.
Oh.
And the nurses that work in them are just amazing, and they will do whatever they can to give you time. And there's things like, there's a lovely lady called Karen. She's has Toby's library, which is in memory of her son.
Oh.
And their books in the butterfly suite that you can read to your baby. You get to take them away with you. So we've got a beautiful story about a butterfly. And butterflies is like something that is really important to us. That's like our little symbol.
Yeah.
So there's a beautiful book about a butterfly. They have clothing in the butterfly suite. And then there's like, there's a charity called Elsie's Moon, which is Wirral. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Amazing. And, the butterfly suite, the nurses in the butterfly suite will help you put in touch with Lindsay at Elsie's Moon. And like with them, I mean, to be honest, there's a couple of different organisations, which is like, I will truly think is like, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. You're saving grace a little bit.
Oh, 100%. So like Elsie's Moon provided me with 6 counselling sessions with a baby loss counsellor who understood everything that I'd been through so much. I had meditation sessions, yoga sessions, and then even just meeting other mums in this, and we didn't necessarily sit there and go like, hi, I'm Sian, I've had termination for medical reasons. But it was like, oh, do you want to, you could talk about the weather. You could talk about how you feel. You could talk about
You're not worried
anything.
that they're going to get awkward if you mention something.
Yeah. And that is the thing, because like Elsie's Moon also do rainbow classes. So, because actually now, and there is probably mums in your class right now who hate it when somebody says, oh, is this your first? Or how many kids have you got? Because I know even I stumble over it now.
Yeah.
And I think, if we'd brought home the baby that I miscarried after, our little boy, that was earlier this year, how would I have handled that question? Like, would I have gone, oh no, my son was stillborn last year. And I've got, I'm quite lucky in that I can always be like, oh, well, mum, I've got a 6-year-old at home, which is how I kind of say, like, he's at home and I can leave that. And it doesn't say, if there's anybody else. But it's nice to be in an environment where just people get it. And you could say what your truth is. Yeah. And somebody's not going to go, oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to talk to you.
Exactly.
And it is because it's not talking about enough that people don't know how to react to it.
Because it's such a taboo. And obviously, like, all baby loss is taboo. But I do think, like, termination for medical reasons especially.
Yeah.
As, on my medical notes already, it says I had an abortion. And it's like,
even that word's just too big.
It's such a trigger. Yeah. And, like, everyone's got to make their own decisions in life. What, if you're in that situation, like...
Yeah, you can't judge anybody unless you're in their shoes.
Exactly. But, for my notes to be like, even in terms of, say, recurrent loss, they won't I can't have any recurrent loss testing on the NHS because on paper, I've had a miscarriage, an abortion and a miscarriage.
That's pathetic, isn't it?
But if he died, I would. If he died...
It's so wrong.
Yeah.
And it's unfair on you that you've got even that word associated with,
exactly.
That's the last thing you would ever have done with him.
And even like, the day that he was born, when the medical staff come into the room and she was like, right, we're here for an abortion. And I was like, no. And I did. And I kind of like, I think my husband was like that in the corner. I was like, excuse me. It's like, I'm just going to set the record straight here. If
you can't control what's going on, at least you can say, you've got to have some control.
Can we
over something.
This, please? Yeah, this is like a very much wanted child.
Very, very insensitive. But it's like if you're going through a miscarriage and you're going for scans, you're in the room with the people who have got their healthy, happy babies. Yeah. And that's wrong in itself.
It is. And also I've heard from people, I don't know whether I've ever experienced this, so I don't know whether maybe Arrow or I've always been at Arrow Park, have been a bit better with this, but I've heard people walk into their scan and go, right, okay, let's see if we can let's look at your baby's heartbeat or let's find your baby. And then if something's gone wrong, they go, right, so we need to talk about the removal of products of conception. So within like 20 minutes, they've gone from let's call your baby a baby because it's your baby to let's call it by the medical terminology that will be on paper. And it's like, no.
Be a little bit more sensitive with this massive aspect of my life.
Yeah. It is my baby. Yeah. Like whatever the terminology you are going to call it is.
I don't care how far along we are, that is my child.
It is you are a mother. From that moment, you are a mother.
I feel like that's a little bit old fashioned though with the NHS in the way they do it because they are looking at it matter of factly, forgetting this is a whole person in front of them with a person inside them.
Exactly.
No matter
with a
how big or little.
To them. And, we're so good at talking about mental health now, but then we're still missing the trick so much of things. Like I was lucky in that there was a lot of mental health support from charities, but considering postnatal depression and, PTSD is really, really, really common in baby loss, nobody really followed up on that.
No.
So
It's sad as well that you have to rely on charities, and we have to have charities for that support. Because if you hadn't have had Elsie's Moon,
I don't
you wouldn't
even
have had.
Yeah, and there was Elsie's Moon, and there was also there's a lady in Liverpool. It's called the Powell Project, and she does exercise for postpartum mums that have lost their babies.
That's incredible.
So, because like as I said before, I hated my body anyway. Didn't feel like I belonged in it, but there was like all my core strength had gone.
Yeah,
and she invites you in, does like a postnatal check.
amazing.
And she's actually just announced recently she's doing proper like mummy MOTs for mums that don't have their babies.
Which is what we should all have.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's starting to do all of that. And it's all at the Older Centre in Liverpool, which is at Older Hay. It's like a child bereavement centre. And her exercise classes were Pilates, physio-led Pilates, but it was all about rebuilding the strength. And then she'd be like, right, here's some really nice places, like some places in Liverpool where similar to your setup, but it's called like the Angel Project. And it's just for mums who are postpartum, who are trying to rebuild their strength again.
Amazing.
So, you can go to an exercise class, but they're for people like you.
Yeah. And that's what it's so important to have.
Yeah. It's just the community again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like same, because I decided to be quite open on Instagram primarily. I just said I'd had a second trimester loss. I didn't say anything else. And the amount of people that came out, and then as soon as I said actually what had happened, and I decided to like write about it on my blog, it just opens that community again.
Yeah.
And there is so many people, and you hate to think that there's so many of us, but there is. And even if there's not somebody going through it now,
it will be.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about you being open and honest. It's probably the people who are in the depths of that sadness, finding it in the middle of the night and just feeling like, oh my God, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
She's been through it. And even if they don't message her, you just know how many people you are helping.
I hope
in
so.
that.
Because I know that's what I needed. And even, like a year ago, if you'd said to me, oh, in a year's time, you're going to, go on a podcast and talk about it, I'd be like, oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Or like, you'd get up in the morning and have hope. I've never in a million years.
You can't see it out of it.
No. And then do you know what I remember? Because I listened to podcasts nonstop, and I obviously had to do the school run, which actually got me up and out.
Yeah, you need having to keep you ticking over.
Absolutely. So I'd like, leave the house in the morning, had this grey hoodie that was like my grief hoodie, and I put my head in it, my earphones in, and just be listening to it on the school run. And then one day in January last year, I sat in the car. I don't know where I'd been that day, but I went to see my friends and her baby for lunch. And I'd put my lipstick on. I was just having a really good day. And I sat in the car and I was like, oh, do you know what? I don't need to put my headphones in. And one of the mums, I think, came and spoke to me, and I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah. It's not as bad as I thought.
I thought, but 8 weeks prior to that, I would have been head down. I would have got to the gate last, so nobody had to talk to me.
But that's the way of coping, and it got you through it. And every week you just got that bit stronger.
Exactly. And I think sometimes it's nice to see, because I think if, my little boy was born on the 1st of September, the 10th of September when my son started school, if you told me, listen, on like the 10th of January, you're going to have your red lipstick on and you're going to make a new friend at that gate, I'd be like,
never.
No.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be that person again. So sometimes it's nice, I think, to see somebody say, like, where you are right now is shit.
There is an out.
But there is, eventually you'll climb out the hole.
Yeah. And the grief will always be there. But you do learn to live with it.
You do. And I think, there's the phrase where your grief might stay the same, but your life grows around it. And I think now, my Ace wakes up every morning and it's so cute. And he's like, good morning, Chase. He shouts into the clouds.
Oh, he's such a big part of your life.
Oh,
and
God,
that's the
it's
best
huge.
way.
He's huge. And, we've got an artist did a pencil sketch of him, in his outfit. And we've got poems around the house. And, he's just part of
He's
our
the family.
Day. And it's really funny. So his name's Chase. He was never going to be called Chase, may I add. We were never supposed to have Ace and Chase. It was my husband thought it was going to be hilarious. And I was like, that's not happening. He's going to be called Atlas. And then I was like, I'll allow you to call the bump Chase whilst I'm pregnant. So we've got videos. We went to a butterfly farm and a butterfly landed on my bump. And we were like, oh, it's Chase's butterfly. It's Chase's butterfly. And then he's got Father's Day cards and I've written like Ace and Chase, haha. And then, so when we found out, 1, he wasn't going to come home, and 2, he was a boy, we were like, he's Chase.
That's who he is.
He's always been Chase.
Yeah.
And my thing was, I don't ever want to be the parent at school who's Ace and Chase's mum. And I don't want to go to the park and shout Ace and Chase.
Yeah.
And people go, what is that woman on about? I said, and now, do you know what?
I'm proud.
I'd give anything. I'd give anything to be at school that. And we went to the park a couple of weeks, it was like last Christmas. And Ace saw 2 squirrels and he was running around going, it's Ace and Chase, it's Ace and Chase, it's Ace and Chase. And I was like, so yeah, that moment that I was like,
that is exactly what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you were always, that I was always meant to have rhyming names.
You were. It was meant to be.
Meant to be.
And he'll always be a big part of your life.
Yeah, he is. He's honestly like everything. And even now there's like quite a few things I've been doing recently that have come out the blue. And you remember friends message me and they're like, that's him, you know, like he's
giving you a message.
Yeah, he's like, he's trying to get you to do that. And then, because his name is Chase, there's lots of things like there's a Chase vodka, there's a Chase gin, there's like Chase Bank, all those types of things.
Yeah.
And people send them to me and they're like, oh, I was thinking of Chase today. Yeah. And it's lovely because
get you through.
Unless, they're people that were strangers a year ago.
It's mad, isn't it? How you can have such a close bond with somebody.
Yeah. It's, it's social media's got such a bad rap for certain things and I get it. And, I am not looking forward to when I have to have conversations with a teenager about social media.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do think in like the motherhood circles.
Yeah, when it changes.
Definitely.
Like my Instagram feed compared to pre-Nyla is a completely different thing in a good way.
Yeah. And as long as you're not somebody that like, I've never had, comparison is a thief of joy. And I don't really have that comparison. And some people, especially in like the baby loss community, have like what they call like the ugly feelings. And like, it's hard when other people are having babies and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. Yeah. I've never had that yet, ever. So for me, just like seeing
other people.
Yeah, it makes me quite happy on Instagram.
Because you want everybody to have a healthy, happy baby.
Exactly.
That is obviously the goal.
Yeah. And to me, like, there's not a certain amount of babies.
Yeah, yeah.
There's hopefully the opportunity is there for everyone that wants one. And
that's what you hope. And there is.
Yeah.
It obviously is very hard for a lot of people. And I've been very lucky, thankfully. Touch wood, I will be again.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully you will be.
Hopefully, but do you know what? I would absolutely love to have another baby. My husband always says, well, like, we're not done. Like, it definitely feels like we're not meant to be a family of 3. But I'm an only child.
Yeah.
And I loved being in a family of 3. Yeah. We were like the 3 musketeers. So I always wanted more children because I wanted him to experience having a sibling. And I think selfishly, I kind of wanted to be part of a sibling relationship. But I'm content enough if it's just us, it's just us.
What's meant to be will be.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of it happens for a reason.
100%.
And if that's your cards, live the best life you can with him.
Exactly. And I'm the same. Like, I do believe everything happens for a reason. And then sometimes people are like, how can you say that when what's you've been through? Yeah. But there's so many things that I've changed as a person for the positive,
God, yeah.
Yeah. And actually everything that he's kind of the experience with what's happened with him has made me do things that I wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And appreciate life in a different way. And I'm so unmaterialistic now. And it kind of feels like it does happen.
Yeah.
It's
a positive from it. And that's
exactly
the best way to come out of it is looking at it positively, because you could have gone massively negative and you've been in every right to do so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really good how amazing you are. You're absolutely inspirational, Sean. You're fantastic. Keep writing about it, I'd say. It's just...
I will. And honestly, thank you for having me on here, because I think as a motherhood podcast, a lot of people would be like, we can't talk about that, we can't talk about that. But actually, I really hope there is probably someone listening that's either been through it and is like, oh, thank God.
God.
Yeah, somebody's spoken on our behalf.
Yeah.
Or it's somebody that unfortunately is listening to this and then does go through it, knows that.
Yeah, they're prepared a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but thank you so much for coming on. And I hope to have you back in the future.
Oh no, because I don't shut up.
That's what we just need longer. But it was really great. And thank you so much.
Thank you.